Poverty Conceptualized, a deconstruction of Oxfam's See for Yourself YouTube video. The video follows Andy, Joss, and Liz, three people who donate to Oxfam Great Britain as they view firsthand the impact of their charitable giving in Kenya. In the image included here, two of the Oxfam supporters can be seen sitting with the people of Turkana, where a water tank was installed by Oxfam. An ideal place to begin this deconstruction is by discovering who the target audience is. Having an understanding of who the video is speaking to will be important, as it will allow for an understanding of why certain messages, ideas, or depictions of poverty reduction are being advanced over others. The video speaks to Western audiences, and speaks to them mainly as potential donors. Key reasons for this conclusion are that 1. All three people we follow are native English speakers. 2. All three of them are white, connecting with racial demographics of Western nations. And 3. The video centers Western people as a positive force in fighting poverty in the global South. There is no mention of how they may actually be part of a global relationship of exploitation. Now let us tackle stereotypes utilized in this video. But first, a short summary of dominant stereotypes which characterize the relationship between the global North and the global South. This historic cartoon depicts many of the stereotypes which continue to dominate the relationship today. The global North is white and powerful. The global South, or indigenous peoples of the North, are of color and are weaker. While the global North is a force spreading ideas of civilization and advancement, the global South is in need of these ideas so that they too can be brought into the modern age. Other stereotypes, not depicted in this cartoon, characterize the global South as passive and dependent, while the global North is active and a source of support for the global South. Now let's look at whether these stereotypes are present in the Oxfam video. Joss, Andy, and Liz, the representatives of Oxfam's donation base and of the West, are, as previously stated, white. The video follows them as they see the good they have been able to bring about in the lives of Black Kenyan people living in poverty. The relationship depicted here does play into stereotypical assumptions of the North being the benefactor and the South a beneficiary. Moreover, while Oxfam is shown as an active force, bringing about technological and social advancement, the Kenyan people are shown as relatively passive recipients of this aid. Let us now turn our focus to recognizable tropes of development work and charity advertisement that may have been utilized in this video. Children singing, playing together in dilapidated surroundings, overlain with messages of how for a few dollars a month it is possible for viewers to change their lives is one common trope, and aspects of it are evident in the video. While there is a great deal of speech from the three British Oxfam supporters and some from a Kenyan woman, the majority of time children were on screen, they were engaged in singing and clapping. Indeed, the video does not include a single direct verbal conversation with Kenyan children, beyond trivialities like reciting the brand of toilets installed by Oxfam. This image is from a scene in the video in which Andy, one of the Oxfam supporters, spends time with a student who walks him through the use of the installed toilets. It would have been a good place to incorporate the voice of a Kenyan child, but the audience does not get to hear any of this conversation. Instead, Andy just provides a narration. Having knowledge about the target audience here is helpful, because knowing that the target group is a Western audience, who are likely to make charitable donations, we can understand why Andy's voice as a middle-aged white Westerner is given prominence. Building on how the video is constructed to appeal to Western audiences, let's look at how it may work to maintain a comfortable level of distance for the audience, through subtly reinforcing a level of separation from the poverty depicted. One way in which the video does so is by centering the ruralness and lack of urban development in Kenya. Though for 3 seconds, the image on the left of the urbanized skyline of Nairobi is shown, most of the video depicts extremely poor rural areas or informal settlements as shown on the right. Though not depicted in the video, this is in contrast to assumptions of the highly developed urban-based living standards in the global South. Another way the video creates this distance is by depicting clear racial differences between the Oxfam supporters and the people they are helping. It is a point of interest as to why no person of color was asked to participate. As it is, though perhaps innocent, the video ends up centering racial differences between the global north and the global south. Now let us utilize some development theories to analyze the types of approaches to ending poverty that are being advanced in the video. We will start by applying modernization theory. It follows a linear approach to development and poverty eradication. Rostow, one of its main contributors, classifies 5 successive stages that all societies need to pass through to reach full development. These are the traditional society, the preconditions for takeoff, the drive to maturity, and lastly, high mass consumption as the final stage. The depictions of Oxfam's projects align heavily with this type of linear approach. For instance, the image included here depicts a scene in which one of the Oxfam supporters relates to the viewer how providing donations to Oxfam allows for infrastructure creation, which in turn allows the communities to focus on education, job creation, and other elements of what modernization theory would classify as the preconditions for takeoff. The implication is that after this buildup of infrastructure, the community and state would be able to work towards the next stage of development. Another aspect of modernization theory applicable to this video is that of external intrusion. Rostow states that in most cases, quote, the stage of preconditions arise not endogenously, but from some external intrusion by more advanced societies, end quote. In the case of the video, Oxfam, an INGO from a Western nation, serves as this external force, providing the technology, infrastructure, and rights-based education needed for Kenya to move along on the modernization spectrum and end poverty for its people. One other key aspect of modernization theory draws on the work of Talcott Parsons, who centered the need for cultural change if societies were to move towards modernization. He contrasted what he saw as primitive elements of traditional societies with the more advanced traits of modern societies. The video depicts one of these movements, from traditional to modern, as it shows how Oxfam has been central in providing valuable negotiation tools to Kenyan women, allowing them to exert their private self-interest in an economic context. Oxfam's video does not challenge tenets of neoliberalism. Instead, it works within them. For instance, rather than suggest that the Kenyan government should play a more prominent role in ensuring its citizens have basic infrastructure, the video suggests Oxfam is able to fulfill this role. Limiting the role of the state in public services it provides is one of the main tenets of neoliberalism. Another main tenet is a focus on market-based solutions. Though Oxfam is a nonprofit, in the video it advances market-based solutions through its partnership with and promotion of Fresh Life toilets. These toilets are sold to Kenyan entrepreneurs with the suggestion that they charge a certain amount of money for each use. Additionally, since the cost of purchasing the toilet is out of reach for many Kenyans, they do have the option to finance the toilets through a microfinancing organization. Models such as these of financial inclusion, pay-for-use, private solutions to public problems are all key aspects of neoliberalism's market-based approach to eradicating poverty. Though the video does not align with the tenets of dependency theory, it will still be helpful to apply it critically, utilizing it to see what the video fails to address. Dependency theory is based in an anti-colonial framework, and it centers the international system as being inherently exploitative, creating conditions that allow the core, or the global north, to retain its position of wealth and power over the periphery, or the global south. In this image, Andy describes how he has seen the value of the projects Oxfam is able to provide through the donations of people like him. Utilizing a dependency theory lens, however, one would not suggest that the global north or its citizens are overall a positive force in eradicating global south poverty. Rather, from a dependency theory perspective, it is their very position of privilege, derived from historic legacies of imperialism, that has created the current state of underdevelopment and poverty in the global south today. Earlier in the presentation, I suggested Oxfam's approach to poverty alleviation aligned with elements of modernization theory because of its advancement of an established linear approach to development. A dependency theory counterargument to this would claim that this approach to development is not feasible for nations of the Global South today. This image shows the historic triangle trade, a highly lucrative trade which enriched European nations. Dependency theorists argue that in part it was this exploitative trade system, centered on profiting off the labor of enslaved people, which allowed the global north to develop the capital base needed to reach their takeoff stage. They would argue that since it is impossible for the global south to experience such favorable conditions for capital creation, they simply cannot follow the same route of development. In addition, they would highlight that unlike the global north, the global south now has to contend with centuries of underdevelopment, thus making modernization approach an unrealistic solution to resolving poverty. This concludes my deconstruction of Oxfam's See for Yourself YouTube video. Thank you for watching this presentation.